Britain's borders are in chaos as the nation passes a shocking and grim milestone. Over 150,000 illegal migrants have arrived on small boats in just 7 years, an influx that could fill the entire city of York. The latest figures show no sign of slowing down, with hundreds more crossing the Channel over Christmas. And the political fallout? Absolutely explosive. Before we dig into the heated blame game between Labour, the Tories, and even Reform UK, check out this reaction from GB News' Mark White as he breaks down what this surge means for the future of Britain.
Mark, this is a Christmas present very, very few people watching this show will be wanting to get a hold of. Christmas Day. It seems that they never take a day off.
No, they don't, and we know because we talk about this constantly. Every time the weather improves, then more boats get shoved out into the English Channel. And we've been told that Border Force is on high alert for a run of good days, not just tomorrow, but some 5 to 6 days of conditions where the winds will be very light indeed. So ideal, although it's cold out there, but ideal conditions in terms of being able to cross, because there will be very little in the way of wind, and therefore the waves in the middle of the channel will be very little as well. So that's ideal weather for the boats to come across. And what we are expecting is thousands potentially to come across during that window in the weather. We sent our Kent producer across to France today with the news of this red alert that the Border Force is now on, and that you're seeing the images there is what he saw along the coast of northern France. Now, this is a place called Grand Cinth, which is near Dunkirk. Just one camp alone had more than 500 people in that camp. He saw hundreds of others in the roads around Dunkirk. There are multiple camps in the Dunkirk area. Then you go further down the coast around the Calais area, more camps as far down as the Boulogne area. Thousands, not just hundreds, but thousands are now massing along the northern coast of France. Normally, many of the migrants are further inland. They wait for the word from the people smugglers that their turn is coming up for the boats, and then arrangements are made to get them to the locations along that coast where they'll meet up with their boats. And as I say, the first of these small boats expected either overnight tonight or into tomorrow morning.
The numbers are staggering. Boxing Day saw 407 more migrants arriving in 10 small boats, following 451 arrivals on Christmas Day. These additions bring the total to 150,243 since the small boat crisis began in 2018. This isn't just a statistic, it's a logistical and political nightmare that has dominated headlines and sparked furious debates for years. How has this been allowed to happen under 5 consecutive prime ministers? As the news broke, politicians raced to point fingers. Chris Philp, the Conservative MP and staunch critic of Labour, took to social media to lambast the opposition. "France is safe," he wrote. "None needed to cross to flee danger. We have been let down again by Labour. Their Christmas gift to the British public appears to be uncontrolled and unlimited illegal immigration." His words were harsh, but the sentiment is one echoed by many frustrated voters. Labour, of course, fired back. Yvette Cooper, the Shadow Home Secretary, issued a scathing statement blaming the Conservatives for leaving an appalling legacy of broken border security. Cooper highlighted Labour's new Smash the Gangs initiative, which promises to dismantle the criminal enterprises profiting from the crisis. She emphasised that the Tories had failed to act decisively, allowing organised crime networks to thrive. And yet, it's not just a war of words between Labour and the Conservatives. Reform UK, the growing third-party force in British politics, entered the fray with their own damning critique. Rupert Lowe, the MP for Great Yarmouth, responded to Philp's statement with a cutting remark. "This doesn't fly, Chris, when the Tories, your party, opened our borders in such an unprecedented fashion. Yes, Labour has let us down, but so did you, again and again." The criticism cuts deep because it's true. The small boat crisis isn't the fault of one party or government. Over 35,898 migrants arrived this year alone, with December's crossings adding thousands to an already overwhelmed system. While arrivals are down 32% compared to the record year of 2022, they're still 24% higher than the same period in 2023. These numbers tell a story of failure on all sides, with no clear end in sight. The political landscape has been reshaped by this crisis. Once a fringe concern, illegal immigration now dominates public discourse and fuels voter discontent. Local councils are struggling to cope with the demand for housing and services as the asylum backlog continues to balloon. Critics argue that successive governments have failed to provide real solutions, opting instead for short-term measures that have done little to stem the tide. Meanwhile, the Home Office is scrambling to repair its battered reputation. A spokesperson released a statement detailing new initiatives, including a border security command and agreements with European nations to crack down on smuggling gangs. "We are increasing removals of those with no right to be here and are clamping down on illegal working," the statement read. But the public remains sceptical. Similar promises have been made before, with little tangible result. Behind the scenes, there's growing frustration among Conservative backbenchers who feel their party has lost control of the narrative. Some MPs have reportedly urged Prime Minister to adopt tougher measures, including turning back boats at sea, an idea fraught with legal and ethical challenges. Others are calling for more robust agreements with France, arguing that Britain should demand greater cooperation in preventing crossings. But the UK isn't alone in this struggle. Across Europe, countries are grappling with rising numbers of migrants and the challenges of integration. France, Italy, and Germany have all seen significant increases in asylum applications, and tensions between member states are running high. The European Union's attempts to create a unified migration policy have repeatedly stalled, leaving individual nations to fend for themselves. For Britain, the stakes are particularly high. As an island nation, control of its borders is seen as a matter of national identity. The Brexit campaign famously hinged on promises to take back control of immigration, a pledge that many voters feel has been betrayed. 7 years after the referendum, the sight of small boats crossing the Channel is a powerful symbol of that perceived failure. And yet, amid the political chaos, there are human stories that often go untold. Each boat carries men, women, and children who have risked everything for the chance of a better life. Many are fleeing war, persecution, or poverty, driven by desperation to undertake a perilous journey. Their arrival sparks anger and compassion in equal measure, reflecting the deep divisions within British society. The crisis has also become a flashpoint for broader debates about immigration and multiculturalism. Supporters of tougher border controls argue that illegal crossings undermine public trust and strain resources, while advocates for more humane policies emphasize the need to address root causes like conflict and economic inequality. As the year draws to a close, the political blame game shows no sign of abating. Labour and the Conservatives are locked in a battle to define the narrative, each accusing the other of gross incompetence. Meanwhile, Reform UK is positioning itself as the party of accountability, seizing on public discontent to bolster its platform. The question now is whether any party can deliver real change. With general elections looming, voters are demanding answers and action. But with over 150,000 illegal migrants already in the UK and thousands more expected, the path forward remains uncertain. For the people of Britain, the small boat crisis is no longer just a headline. It's a reality that affects communities, budgets, and the very fabric of the nation. And as the political drama unfolds, one thing is clear. This is a story far from over.